Introduce now, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of Powder River Energy, Mike Easley, for his report. Thank you.
It doesn't do much for your nerves when you're speaking in front of a group of several hundred people, but it does get people's attention. So thank you so much for having me as your CEO. You know, interestingly enough, it was 15 years ago that I came to my first annual meeting as a newly hired, totally green CEO, and Tom Davis over there could probably tell you how I looked, something like the deer in the headlight look. Tom, maybe was probably it. It's been 15 amazing years for me. And I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to be the CEO of Wyoming's second largest utility, Wyoming's largest electric cooperative. If you take a look at Powder River Energy and stack us up against the national statistics for co-ops, we're in the top 10 of most of the important metrics and clearly in the top 15 of the rest. 70 years ago, in a meeting much like this, probably in a place a lot different than this, a bunch of folks came together and had a vision for Northeast Wyoming. That vision at the time was really built around making life better for folks in rural Northeast Wyoming. Fast forward that clock, 70 years, we have a system that serves 5 counties, 16,000 square miles of service territory, over 10,000 miles of line, 300 megawatts, which is almost the entire output of that awesome plant that Tom Stahlcup runs with his team, which is called the Dry Fork Station. Could they have imagined what we would be in 70 years? It's pretty amazing. It takes people like Earl Christensen and the vision of Earl and our other founders to take us where we are today. And I know we'll talk a little bit about Earl later in the meeting, but from my perspective, I'm going to just take a deep breath and think about Earl and our founders and all the people that have come before us for the past 70 years to get us to this date. And I hope, as I talk for the next several minutes and tell you about your co-op, that I'm worthy of their effort. And I hope that my words and my deeds, even more importantly, reflect their passion and commitment to you guys, the members of our co-op. These are pretty interesting times that we live in. We have a new reality that we're facing. Don't worry, my speech isn't going to be demonizing these and other challenges that are placed before us. But the reality is we've got some pretty tough road. The other reality is that since I have been here at PRECorp as your CEO, I have never been more excited about my job in a positive way. I've never been more excited about things here than I am today. And I know that the next 70 years of our co-op is going to be filled with some wins, some losses, some challenges, some opportunities. But at the end of the day, 70 years from now, people are going to remember, hopefully, you folks and your vision and your support as members, and our vision as a management team and a group of employees that helped us navigate through what I call our new reality. It's a really tough market right now for coal, oil, and natural gas. I'll talk a little bit about that. The Clean Power Plan. EPA regulations, bankruptcy in the energy sector, our system sales slowing down, our increased cost of doing business. You know, we talk about a boom and bust cycle, and we're all used to that. We're living that right now. And I tell you, you know, you might ask, what in the heck is Easley so excited about? And I'll tell you why. And actually, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Are we having fun? Here is why I'm excited. Do you know what this picture is? This is a picture of every one of the hard-working people that are part of the PRECorp team. And this is why I'm excited. This is what gives me energy to come to work every day. This is why I love what I do. And this is why you folks and the other 10,000 members just like you should be just a little excited and optimistic as well. You have a team of hardworking and committed employees whose job it is to accomplish and overcome those challenges, whose passion is service to each other and service to the communities. That is a combination that you just can't beat. And we will have success. And I'd like to tell you how we're going to do that. First of all, we're going to work safely. We have nearly half our workforce is out in the elements working around electricity day in and day out. And our biggest concern for our team is that everybody comes home safely. And that's their biggest concern for themselves. And our safety program and what we've done over the past year with our employee team and support of the board of directors has taken PRECorp's safety program and our commitment to safety, how we, instead of yelling at people if something doesn't go right, we celebrate the continuous efforts of people to do the things right. And that's working good for us. Check that off the box. The rest of this stuff, even though it's big, it's not that big if everybody's coming home every day. So for the PRECorp team, those that are here, please stand up. I'd like you to be recognized for your efforts. Come on, you got the orange shirts on. There's a bunch of you out there. Be safe, folks. So we talk about managing the risks. That is an easy word, an easy sentence for a very difficult thing. And just recently, over the past month, because of the financial risk in the energy industry, our company, our co-op, has lost $2 million. Now, that's a lot of money. But when you take a look at that, total revenues are 190 million-ish, 180, depending on how things go this year. At the end of the year, our operating revenues, we budget and build a rate case around 600,000 to 700,000, maybe $1 million. We had money set aside in our loss reserve of about 1.2 million, but the Stormcat CBM company that went out of business and shut down around 500 CBM wells after milking the system and basically taking advantage of our PSC-approved deposit regulations, ceased doing business and left us holding the bag on about 1.2 million. I'm pleased to tell you that Mark Hughes, our attorney, filed suit on those guys last week. You can't get blood out of a turnip. We'll see. We also had a coal mine go bankrupt. In case you haven't seen this in the papers, a company called Alpha Natural Resources. If you remember the statistics that Philip showed, the coal mining industry is around 35% of our total revenue. Roughly $5 million a month to the coal mine industry. Those are great customers. Were it not for the coal mine industry, our rates would be higher. You've heard me talk about this every year at the annual meeting about how growth helps keep our rates lower. But right now, the coal industry is, it's in trouble. That's the simple fact. The Alpha Natural Resources, now I believe their bankruptcy had a lot, it would be very easy to say they went bankrupt because of the Clean Power Plan. I don't think that wouldn't be a fair statement to say. I think they went bankruptcy for a lot of other reasons. Immediate, things come to mind, some bad investments, or bad investments in mining assets in the Appalachia. Gas prices so low that people are slowing down on using coal even when they can. And then you add the uncertainty created by the Clean Power Plan. And just that regulation alone puts a dismal spin on the future of coal. All those things together, company goes bankrupt, we lose $500,000 that day. You might say, easily, what in the heck are you talking about? Why are you excited about working here? Never has the time been so great to have a team put together that we have at PRECorp. We'll get through it. Now, just recently, we know that coming up this Friday, our largest single customer, Arch Coal, has a deadline of midnight on August 28th to get into place financing to refinance $1 billion or so of debt to lower their interest rates and do some financial restructuring. I am pretty concerned what's going to happen if they're not successful in that refinance. And I can tell you what, I have 10 board members that are equally, if not more, concerned. Last week, we had a serious discussion about this in our board meeting, not just our largest customer, which is Black Thunder Mine or Arch Coal, but looking at the entire coal industry. Peabody, one of the largest mining companies on the planet. Their stock is pretty battered. Tough financial times for them. We basically decided to communicate with these customers that have been on our system for over 30 years, nearly 40 years, some of them, that have never missed a payment. They've been great customers, they've contributed, but right now we're concerned, and we told those folks just last week, we need security deposits, we need assurances that we're not going to be left hanging on a power bill. And according to our PSC regulations that we follow, we could be exposed to 60 days worth of loss if the industry were to just suddenly go away. Now, we know that's not going to happen in one day, but having $10 million at risk, 2 months worth of usage, $5 million a month, that's a serious deal. And I think you guys should be really proud of your board stepping up and making a decision. We're going to tell those guys, they're going to give us the assurance, and if they don't, we're going to pull the plug. Now that sounds really easy in the saying. I can tell you what, the implementation is a lot more complicated, and I can't tell you how it's going to play out. I can tell you that I've been on the phone and email dialogue with the Chief Executive Officer of Arch Coal, wonderful gentleman by the name of Paul Lang, who gets our issue. He's trying to figure out what they can do, how they can do to accommodate our request. This week will be very critical. On Tuesday, I'm going to the Public Service Commission, and I'm going to tell the Commission with all due respect how much we appreciate the Commission and their regulations. I'm also going to look at them with 100% sincerity in my face and say, your rules are not protecting our members. Your rules are not protecting those 10,000 other members that we have in Northeast Wyoming that don't need to foot the bill if these companies decide not to pay it. I hope you would agree with that. I'm super serious on this, but I can tell you what, the people that we're working with, they understand where we're coming from, but we're not going to back down. We're going to take it as far as we can to make sure your interests are protected. That's managing risk. We're going to do it. Regulations, ensuring regulations are legal. This has to do with the Clean Power Plan. The Clean Power Plan has been released. The regulations are there. We are going to be hand in hand, arm in arm with Governor Meade and the state of Wyoming, Basin Electric, as we push back and challenge these regulations. And I want you to understand that if a regulation gets approved and made, and that regulation stands up to the critical legal scrutiny that we can give it, and at the end of the day, that regulation is found to be legal at whatever requirements are in it, that's what we have to do. But that doesn't mean we don't have to, that doesn't mean that we won't fight the good fight. Because the regulations that impose extra costs on us, that threaten our economic well-being, are regulations that darn well better be legal. I would hope you would agree with that. That being said, just because we're fighting like heck to make sure that the regulations are legal, we also better be thinking like heck to try to innovate and look for opportunity in the face of those regulations. And that's exactly what we've been doing at Powder River Energy for well over a year, since last year's legislation in trying to stand up a carbon capture test center in Wyoming. We've been working with the state to perfect the details of the legislation, and I'm very optimistic that the estimates to do that all the bells and whistles, or the hoops that have been put into the legislation, will be met. And I'm optimistic that towards the end of this month or the first part of September, that we will have pressed the button and got the integrated test center moving. It's not going to be a huge project from a dollar perspective, but anything that we can do to change the trajectory of the conversation on coal is worth doing. I would hope that you would agree with that. I would also tell you that anything that we can do to support the state's efforts to make sure that the commodity prices for all the other energy, whether it's oil and gas, that those commodity prices, the policies that we have in the country and that we look at in Wyoming, strengthen those prices, because our coal industry is right now, the biggest threat on the coal industry is the fact that natural gas prices are so low. And we can't change that. But policies that help natural gas prices, policies that help oil prices, all those things will help us. And you know, what's at stake for us in Wyoming? The Wyoming budget, 40% of our revenues come from coal. That's a big number, folks. The studies that we have looked at show that there's a potential for 7,000, maybe even more, jobs lost in Wyoming, with 1 in 10 coming out of northeast Wyoming if the coal industry were to take a significant contraction. So we need coal in the mix. We need oil prices and gas prices to be strong. We need not to find ourselves demonizing everything that threatens us. We need to work like heck to challenge the regulations, and we need to seek opportunity, whether it's technology, whether it's figuring out how to take the requirements of the EPA regulations and use those to our advantage, which we can do. That's what we have to do, and that's what we're going to do. and I've got a team of 140 some odd people behind me that are going to be there every step of the way to help us be successful. We have to create this opportunity through innovation, through strategic thinking, and through not giving up. Basically, it's about executing our mission, executing our vision, providing leadership and service in our communities. Making sure we keep the lights on is not just a reality of keeping the lights on. We need to keep Wyoming bright. And I'm talking about our attitudes, I'm talking about our passion, I'm talking about the ability to look at all the things that we face, to not get sucked in to the poor me, this is happening to me, to find an opportunity to meet the challenges head on, and to make PRECorp a beacon of hope, to make our resilience of Northeast Wyoming brighter because of what we do. PRECorp can help keep the lights on, but we can also help keep things brighter in Northeast Wyoming. You've got the team to do it. You've got the board to do it. We need you. So please, keep your pulse, your thumb on the pulse of the co-op. Join in on our customer town halls. We have 600 to 1,000 members for 15 to 30-minute conversations with me quarterly to keep up to speed on what's going on. Be part of the co-op. Because if you look at where we are after 70 years, the reason that we are here with Wyoming's second largest utility, Wyoming's largest co-op, one of the top 20 co-ops in the country, is because guys like Earl Christensen, folks like you, decided to make Wyoming, Northeast Wyoming, a brighter place. Let's do it. Thank you.